Once upon a time, there was a kid that saved extra coins and brought them to church each Sunday, just a few here and there. But these coins added up, and these coins were no longer just coins. These coins became education for kids around the world. These coins turned into a preschool in Bangladesh that helped indigenous kids learn in classes in their own language before going to school. The coins mean that kids in Ethiopia and elsewhere have what they need to learn and grow. They get school kits into the hands of students and provide everything from school lunches to playground equipment. These coins turn into books and school fees for sisters who had to flee their old home because of fighting. In their new home, in another part of DR Congo, they can now go to class and learn. Those coins are so much more than coins now. Let's work together to help kids around the world have what they need to learn, grow, and thrive.
My coins count.
My coins count.
My coins count.
My coins count.
Sitting in my pocket when they could be doing good. My coins count.
My coins count.
My coins count.
My coins count.
We can make a difference in the world.
Check, check. Hey, good morning. Yeah, how's everybody day after that nice jingle? Yeah. I know it. My day's definitely better. All right, so yeah, the relief sale's coming up the 17th and 18th. If you haven't gathered that, out in the lobby there, you've been seeing the jug for the coins count. So each weekend leading up to that, we'll be having that in the lobby that you can give to that. If you want to give in another way with your weekly tithing, you can designate it towards the relief sale. And our church has been running a potentially award-winning salad stand at the relief sale every year, so we'll be doing that again. If you want to support that and help with that, volunteer, you can sign up. We'll have a sign-up sheet. I don't know if we'll have it this week, definitely next week. To volunteer there Friday or Saturday morning. A Friday morning we also do the fruit cutting, so if you want to sign up just for that, you can do that as well. And yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, so yeah, you can check your email. There's some more details in the email, and thanks for your support, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Alrighty, we also have Kids Church, so if you would like to go and be in Kids Church and learn a lesson today and play some games, you can head to the fellowship hall. Thank you.
On the bottom.
It's great to see lots of kids, amen? Good luck, Chad. We'll give them a minute to get settled here. Nice. Well, 2 weeks ago, my band Remix Worship got to lead worship at a men's conference called Deeper Waters Men's Conference, and it was great. And I don't know how much you know about Remix, my other worship band, but we are a group of worship leaders and worship pastors that are from all different churches, and we gather together to lead in different contexts, to lead worship. And so because we are from different churches, one of the things that is neat about it is we get to check in with one another, and we get to just share what's going on at our churches, the good, bad, the ugly, all of it. Lots of opinions are thrown around and lots of great discussions, and by the end of it, maybe we have all the church problems solved. I'm not sure, but it's good. It's good talks at least. And so I guess I have been talking about our core values with Remix a lot because this past time, one of the guys in the band said, "Josh, you are talking about the core values all the time. Enough is enough. We've heard about the core values, man. We get it." But I'll tell you guys the same thing that I told him, and I said, that's good. That's because we should be talking about our values, because the values are a tool that we use to check on our decisions and to check on our ideas and make sure that we're working together and behaving the way that God has called us in this season. Yeah, core values can look great. Like, we can throw them on a poster and put them up on the wall, but if we're not living into those values, if they're not part of our discussions and conversations, are they actually values? Are we actually using them? And I know this is new for a lot of us. We have a new way that we're engaging with values that maybe we haven't really done before, and we have a lot of new language around those values. And so one of the things that we've been doing week to week is kind of reminding everybody what values actually are. And so just a little review today. I have 2 points here that over the past couple of weeks really stood out to me, so I want to share those with you guys. Number one is that our values aren't about what is right and wrong. If we're having conversations about values, then they have already gone through our beliefs and our vision and our mission. Do you guys remember that upside down triangle that we had? So this is, I call it like the filter, or the funnel maybe is a better word for it. So when we have an idea or, a thought, a decision that has to be made, we can run it through this filter. So at the top is our beliefs. And that is what determines if it's right or wrong, right? If it can't make it through our beliefs, then it's never going to touch mission and vision and values. But so the beliefs are like the gatekeeper of what actually, gets talked about. But if it makes it all the way down to our values, it's not about the right and the wrong. We're talking specifically about the how. How are we doing whatever it is that we're doing? Another way to say this is that values are not moral issues. I heard somebody say one time that some of the best marriage advice that they ever got was not to turn non-moral issues into moral issues. So that's all about the language that we use with one another. So if you ever heard someone say, "Oh, honey, you loaded the dishwasher the wrong way," or "You didn't make the bed the right way." It's not about what's right and wrong. We're just talking about a preference there, the way that you would like it to be done, an agreed upon way to do it. That sounds a lot like a value. Our soul is not in jeopardy if the bowls aren't stacked in the dishwasher the right way. Heaven and hell is not in the balance if I see some shrugging out there. We're questioning this. Heaven and hell isn't in the balance if you don't tuck the bed sheet the right way. It's not a biblically right or wrong. It's not ethical. So maybe we shouldn't use words like right or wrong. Just a thought. And so in the same way, I would say the best piece of congregational advice is don't turn non-moral issues into moral issues. Our values at the church are not a matter of right and wrong in the way that we do ministry or church life together, but rather it's a mutual understanding of the body, of our faith community, to say, this is how we are going to do kingdom work together. These are our values. So again, values not about right and wrong. That hits our beliefs. If we're down to values, we're past that. Second one is our values can change. Guys, it is okay if our values change. Actually, that could be a very good sign for our church. Let me explain. I'm going to tell you the tale of two churches here. Go back with me about 40 years or more, and there were two churches. One church was a bigger church, had a big staff, multiple pastors. They were growing and had been growing for years. And then just down the road was a smaller church, I don't know, maybe 50 to just a smaller church. Now, this bigger church, they were doing good, but long story short, there were some decisions that were made which sadly led to a church split. And so a lot of these members, a couple hundred of them, left together, and they went down the road to join this smaller church. So from 1 week, that church went from about 50 people, or maybe closer to 100, to a couple hundred people. It more than doubled in 1 week. The way that church did church changed. I know that's a pretty extreme example, but it's not made up. That big church, that split, my grandfather was on staff there during that time. And that smaller church that grew, that was actually the church that I grew up in for 25 years of my life. Each of us brings gifts, abilities, our own DNA to church culture. Different gifts, different abilities, different experiences can mean different values. And that means, I love this, because every single one of you that are here today with your own gifts, your own abilities, your own talents, have value within this church body here. And you are actually what makes our DNA. You are what makes EPMC who we are today. And so our values can change. That brings us to our third value, where we're at today. And we are on integrity over image. As I thought about this value this week, I was reminded of my friend, Kaol. I say friend, but at that time, Kaol was 4 years old. He was in my pre-K class, and I was his teacher. And I know teachers aren't really supposed to have favorites, but I can say that as a teacher, there's students that make more of an impact or a deeper impact on your life than maybe some other ones, and Kaol was that for me. So in class, Kaol had zero filter. If he was thinking something, you knew it, and probably knew it sooner rather than later. I remember the first time I met him, it might have been class orientation or the first day of school, and I was kind of going around and talking to all the kids, and I said, "Oh, Kaol, I'm Mr. Josh. It's great to have you in my class. I'm super excited for the school year." And Kaol said, "My name is not Kaol, it's Kaol." I guess I messed the accent up a little bit. Another day at school, it was arrival time, and the kids were coming in to school, and the teachers would line the hallways, and we'd kind of help the kids shuffle down the hallway and get to where they needed to be. And a lot of times, the teachers would ask the kids for a greeting, like, "Hey, would you like a hug or would you like a high five?" And so most of the kids would answer, and they'd pick what they wanted. Now, this particular day, Kaol came in, and he didn't say any. The teacher asked him, "Hey, Kaol, do you want a hug or do you want a high five?" And he just kind of gave the cold shoulder treatment and just kept walking by. And that didn't sit really well with that teacher that day. And so she said, "Hey, Kaol, I asked you a question. Did you want a hug or a high five, a yes or a no?" And Kaol said, "I did not say yes. I did not say no." He was so matter of fact, it brought a smile to my face. It was comical. So for Kaol, there was no image problem there. Who he was exactly who you got every day. And so it reminds me a little bit of integrity over image, and I have a definition here for us. With integrity over image, you aren't trying to be someone you're not. You're not worried and looking over your shoulder. People's opinions of you isn't what's most important. Integrity is taking all of your time and energy and investing that into who you are. Integrity is most concerned about truth-telling words and follow-through actions. It's about being the same person no matter where you are or who you're with. So let's think about Kaol again. Cale wasn't trying to be somebody he was not. He wasn't worried about looking over his shoulders, and other people's opinions of him weren't very important. Now, as a teacher, that created some challenges in class sometimes, but we can learn about integrity over image from his example. Again, even to cut that definition down to make it more simple, integrity is being the same person no matter who you are, no matter where you are or who you are with. So let's get into the scripture this morning. Thinking about integrity, I was bouncing all over the place in the Bible, thinking about Joseph and the false accusations and the imprisonment, and even through all of that stuff, he held true to who he was. He didn't change. I thought about Daniel, and even as the laws and the rules of the lands changed, again, he held tight to his values and who he was, regardless of the cost. And we see integrity again in our passage today from Psalms 15, 1-5. I'm going to read it for you. It says this, it says, "O Lord, who may abide in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? He who walks with integrity and practices righteousness, who speaks the truth from his heart, who has no slander on his tongue, who does no harm to his neighbor, who casts no scorn on his friend, who despises the vile, but honors those who fear the Lord, who does not revise a costly oath, who lends money without interest and refuses to bribe against the innocent. He who does these things will not be shaken." I've also heard integrity defined this way: doing the right thing even when no one is watching. True integrity, true character, isn't about receiving recognition or praise from people. It's about doing what is right because that is right. It's not putting on a show or impressing others and then totally changing who you are into something else. Once those stage lights of life turn off and all the eyes leave the room. It's about being the same person. In verse 1, when David is referencing God's tent, he's talking about God's tabernacle. David knew the tabernacle was where the presence of God was. So he asked the question, who may abide in your tent? Or who may abide in your tabernacle? He's thinking of a life that's truly lived in the presence of God. The rest of the stuff, the rest of that verse, simple. Not easy, but simple. He gives us a list of these things that we are to do. But remember, I think the big thing to remember with this list is that these things don't necessarily represent integrity itself, but it's when you claim to be following Christ, it's when you are claiming to live a life that is honoring to God, and if you do that, then these are some things that should come out, that should be there as evidence. These are more of like the evidence of integrity. So what is that list? Speaks the truth, does not slander, so telling lies against somebody to ruin or wreck their reputation, loves neighbor, no feelings of scorn, means that you believe people are worthless and not good, and despises the vile, but honors those who fear the Lord. You don't go back on your word or your promises, lends money for free, and refuses a bribe against the innocent. That's not an exhaustive list. There's a lot more things in our lives. There's a lot more teachings of Jesus that we can walk into and live out. But for these, it may just be a good place to start, to check in, to say, hey, these are the benchmarks that the psalmist lays out for us for the people that can abide in the tent or the tabernacle of God and have integrity. So again, just checking in with yourself. How did I do today? Did I speak the truth? Did I love my neighbor? Did I say anything unkind or hurtful? Was I manipulative today towards anybody? And am I being a generous person? Again, not an exhaustive list, but I think a pretty solid place to start. So what did our Anabaptist forefathers, how did they model and live out integrity? Right? We say this is a value for us now at our church, but was it a value for them? Is this value further separating us from our traditions, or is this value helping us to realign with what always has been? I love this quote from the book, The Naked Anabaptist. It says, Anabaptists committed to practical discipleship. Here's the key part. Living out faith rather than talking about it too much and following Jesus. I like that because I really think it pushes back against that mask that can be so tempting to wear when we gather together. That mask of, I'm just trying to impress people, or I'm trying to look a certain way on the outside, right? We can sing songs together. We can greet each other warmly. We can answer the pastor's questions. We can do all those sorts of things. But once we get outside of these four church walls, are we a different person, or are we living those things out? The Anabaptists, they did their best to follow Jesus with their actions and not just to put on a show for other believers. So if I could sum up that Anabaptist perspective for us today, I would say faith must be visible and embodied, not merely confessed, even to the point of persecution. Our integrity is costly, not performative. So remember, our early Anabaptist brothers and sisters in Christ, they were persecuted. And some of them, a lot of them were even killed. And to choose Christ was to choose danger, both for you and your family. It wouldn't make sense for an early Anabaptist to not have integrity, right? To be out and claiming Christ and talking with your friends about Jesus and then coming back home and living a different way, living worldly, right? Because you'd be putting yourself in danger. You would potentially die for something that wasn't even truly in your heart. So integrity was huge. The message that they were preaching, the message that they were talking about and sharing, that is what they lived out each and every day. They had some skin in the game. It wasn't just performative, it was costly. And they chose to live that out. So I wonder today if Christians, if we experienced similar persecution in the United States, would we still choose to follow Christ? If our faith is all talk, but isn't deep, somewhere deep within our hearts, maybe the truth would come out. Maybe we wouldn't. I don't know. I remember another day at school when I was teaching, and I got to teach one of my favorite Bible lessons to the kids, and that was the Tower of Babel. Now, it was my favorite because in the lesson plans, you got to break out the Legos, and we got to play Legos in class. It was a good day. And for the kids, it was their favorite lesson too, because who doesn't love Legos? Well, class was over, and instructions were given that everybody was supposed to be cleaning up, putting stuff away, line up at the door. Come on, guys, it's lunchtime. Everybody's hungry. Let's get to lunch. Teachers get hungry too, you know. And all of my students were listening and doing that except one. Our buddy Kaol that day. He was building away his skyscraper to the heavens. And one of the main points in our lesson was that we are to take part in building God's kingdom and not build our own kingdom. And so I asked him that day as he was sitting there building away, I said, Cale, I noticed you're not listening to me today. Do you think you're helping to build God's kingdom, or are you building your own kingdom right now? Sure enough, without missing a beat, he said, I'm building my own kingdom. At least he was honest, and I guess he had integrity in that sense. But the story makes me reflect on, what am I building? Do I have a relationship with Jesus? Am I walking with him daily? Or am I building something else? For us many of us who've gone and been a part of church for a long time, I think we have to be careful. Sometimes it's easy to lose focus. It's easy to get off course. We see where we were when we got started, and it was beautiful, and it was a great relationship, and then maybe 20, 30, 40 years later, we're like, oh man, I lost focus somewhere. How did I get over here? It might look like we're following Jesus, right? That's our image. But is that what I'm really doing? Am I following Jesus with integrity? Or does it just look like I'm doing that? When we get caught up in our image, we spend so much time building our own kingdom, painting an image of who we are that isn't even real. We see this a lot today with stuff on social media. We try to manufacture this alternate version of reality and of ourselves. I'm sure you guys have seen it like I have, right? People take in pictures and they have to take 10 or 20 of them from all the right angles just to make it look perfect. And then we take that picture and we run it through filters where it resizes and recolors our figure just to look just right. And then we post it, and we get lots of wonderful comments from people that we probably don't even know or aren't even that close to us. And we wonder why the real world feels so different. I think sometimes we can do similar things on our Christian journey. I think it can be pretty easy to get mixed up and to spend more time and energy really focusing on all that external stuff. You know, the stuff of like what other people think of us, and we leave our hearts neglected. People don't speak up and get the help that they need because they're afraid of how it might change the way people view them in the church. So we stay broken in order to save our image. But it's so important to remember that God is more concerned with our hearts than he is our image. Remember that. Reminds me of 1 Samuel 16:7, where it says, "The Lord does not look the way man does. Look at the things the way man does. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So my challenge, friends, today for all of us is to check in with yourself this morning. Maybe you've been going to church for a long time. Maybe you just got started. Wherever you are on your journey, when you go to church, is your heart going along with you or just you? Are we talking the talk and also walking the walk? Do we have integrity? So I just have, as the band comes back up and we get ready to close in worship, I have 3 questions. What are areas in your life that look strong publicly but feel weak privately? What conversations have you been avoiding to protect your image? And lastly, where is Jesus inviting you to choose integrity over image? I invite you to stand, ponder that for a moment as the band gets ready, and we'll lead our last song.